Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about master calendar. Master calendar is one of the things that can make your analysis very much powerful. And there is a built-in master calendar within Qlik, especially with the new features that's coming in. But uh, still, you feel like at times that you can customize it and you can make it work. You have some things which are not covered by Qlik's standard calendar. So today we're going to talk about it. Before I start that, I just made an application and I'm going to talk about a feature or a function that we're going to use within that. Okay, so let's get started. So here I am. The function that I'm going to talk about is AutoGenerate function. So the AutoGenerate function is essentially uh, a function that helps us to create records with and do iterations without any load script from the file or anything. So how that works, let's just start that auto generate function, and how that works is load. I'm just going to write row number. Row number is a function that give me the row number, and then I'm going to use, instead of from or a center table, I'm going to use auto generate 10. So let's see what that does. Those who know that can skip and go to the next part. Rather than I think it would be around, you can skip first 3-4 minutes, but it would be a good thing if you can see that. So I'm going to load it, and you see it has created 10 records. I didn't have any from to. So what AutoGenerate does is it's create the records, and we can manipulate those records. Then let's see how we can do that. So this is our first thing that we know, that how AutoGenerate function works. And now we're going to use AutoGenerate function to create a very basic calendar. Okay, so let's create last 2 months calendar, which will be last 60 days calendar. So in order to do create that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable. Let's call v let's call it v max date, which is, and I'm going to call it today. And then I'm going to create another variable, let v8, and I'm going to link it to vmax date. So the reason I'm going to do it on a variable thing, that so that if I want to change today's date, I want to create, let's say, future calendar or something like that, so that I can switch around those things. So this is how I'm going to do that, and I'm going to create last 60 days calendar. Okay, so that's one thing. And let's now, or we can just, for the time being, I'm not going to use this min date, so I'm going to auto generate 60. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say today minus row number as date. It's a very simple table, and let's hit load. Oh, here you see 60 records created, and if I go to data model viewer, let's see how it does look. We have this. Okay, these are you see these are Excel dates or numeric dates. So let's convert it to dates here, and let me name it as temp calendar. So let's see how that looks now. You see 60 records and date. Today is 19th, the 20th. So the row number 1 is going from yesterday to last 60 days. Okay, so this is the very basic thing how we have created the use the auto generate function to create 60 days worth of data. But what if we want to use this on base of these variables, and then we can manipulate these variables to from any start date to any end date. So that would be very helpful. So if we want to use that, so rather than having them 60 here, I can use these variables to do the same. V max to V minus V min. So it's going to give me exactly the same picture. Okay, so let's do that, and it's 60 days, and it's giving me the similar results. Okay, let's go to create. Let's 1000 dates. Oh, here you go, 1000 created. If we come here, this is much more 1000. It's not showing in here. So let's go onto a sheet, and if I just, this is a field, if I just drag it as a filter box, so here we go, it's creating from, so you see 24th of November. Okay, so this is the first step is complete. You have generated the calendar automatically. So the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these some more basic functions, and let's see how we can build on top of that. If you see, I have used the word temp calendar because it is a temporary calendar. So normally what we do when we create master calendar, we keep the date generation, and based on dates we have certain features, person extract certain functions, we keep them separate. It helps us a lot to work around onto different things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say calendar, and then I'm going to load date, basic, the we have that we already have, and I'm going to call it, okay, just to make sure that it picks up the field, and then I'm going to click get that from resident time calendar. Okay, so I'm using, by the way, I'm using the desktop version, but everything would be same regardless of it's a desktop or it is a the other versions. Okay, so here we go. I have created, oh sorry, I need to drop temp calendar because I have used it, and those who are familiar with Qlik, so you know that once we have both field names same, it's going to concatenate automatically. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to work on a few things here. Okay, good. Good so far. So now we're going to use some basic functions. So those basic functions will include, let's just get month of date. Oh, sorry, we have to put a comma here. So now let's call it as month. Then let's call it year as, let's call it, what we're going to call it, let's call it quarter name, and call it in here, let's call it week. So you see, now we're using the date that we have created, and we are going to work on to some of the functions, and these are, by the way, date functions. You can call any of them. So so here we go, and if I go onto the front end side, and I'm just going to create a table, So let's create a table here. Delete this one. I'm going to create a table, and we have a date here. We have a month. Then we have week, and then we have year. So don't worry about it. We're gonna look into this what it exactly is in a moment. So you see, we have this year and everything in here, well placed. Okay. Okay, so rather than doing all this, so I have a script here that is very freely available as well. So I'm going to paste in here using from this particular app. Let me see, I think I have this in this particular app. So, nope, I don't have in this one. Let's open new other one. I have one of these where I have this one. Hope so I have this. Oh yeah, this is here. So what I'm going to do is, yes, so I'm going to copy up to this point. And by the way, the script that you find, it will have some template or this kind of wordings. So don't worry about it. Let's fix it now. Either there are two ways to fix it. Either I can rename it as template, or I can just replace it in here. So no, either way, it's okay. So if you see, we have all these things in here, and let's load it. Here we go. We have then these 1,000 dates created. Let's just fix this one. Why? Which one? Okay. So here we go. So you see the week is fixed. Okay. Weekday, week, everything is fixed now. Okay. So um, here, oh sorry, my bad. Okay, so here we are. If you see, we have used, I have used, but I think you will see that very common. But this is another function called dual function that is very helpful. So let's just see that why I have used. If you see, this is a week start date, and I have it made it a date. So what happens is when in calendar, sometimes it happens that we have the month numbers, month names, and we have made it in such a way that it is interpreted as a text. And when you go to have to use it as a numeric purpose for sorting and all those things, it doesn't work. So what you can use is you can use dual function. So the first is text, so it is picking it up as a text. So it is very smooth, dd-mm, so that I know when it started. But for the purpose of numeric calculations, wherever it will have to take the numeric part, it is going to do that. It used to do similar things automatically in Qlik but at times it doesn't work as intended. So it's a best practice, and I think now it should be the best practice to use the dual function, and it also helps you in your set analysis and those things, because this numeric changing between numeric and text functions at times causes us certain problems. Okay, so you can have one date for multiple text or numeric one. Okay, so then we're going to see there is an issue actually. Uh, Let me show you that, and we're going to fix that. First, let me show you. Let me just start with the week. We have week name in here. Let's see what it is. Okay, okay, so let's just start with the year. Okay, so if you see, and then we can start with Nevertheless, we can start with it. Okay, if you see November, we have these years basically starting, and then 31st of December, and 2019's 31st December is picking up as week 1. So if I just select this one, if you see, this is coming in 2019 as a first week, and it also starting with in 2020. So we need to fix this in order, because so that if it is 53rd week of the year, it behaves, it also comes, if the date is in between first month of the next year, it should come as a first week, or if it is like 30th December or 31st December, it should come as a 53rd week. So I have done that, so I'm just going to use that in here, this particular function. I'm not going to write it. So let's just paste it in here, and let's see what it does. So if it says if week number is 53 and the week start time date is less than in the year, so it's essentially in the next year, then considered as a 0 week. Else week, whether it is, so it's just a way to get the thing sorted, so that the last e- these does not complicate our analysis, and we can use this week number for new year. Okay, so that is one part of our video. Now I'm going to jump on to the next component. The next component we're going to discuss is the fiscal year. So at times what happens is that companies have a different year of reporting as compared to the calendar year. For example, in UK, the financial year starts from April. So many companies consider April as their first year of the business. Many companies consider July as their first year because of some economical and social impacts and their nature of the business. And this is very common across the world. Some countries have September as starting there, and to be honest, I think there are many few countries which actually has January to December as their fiscal year. So how we can handle that? So that is what here challenge is, that we want April to be the first period, whereas if I use standard Qlik functions, it's going to return me January as the first month. So whenever do I reporting, my year should start like this, and all those things. So for that, I have done some working. So there is very easy way to do it actually. So what we're gonna do is, what we are going to create an other date and call it a fiscal date. Okay, but for example, if my fiscal year starts in April, so normally, I think that is an important thing to understand as a concept uh, before doing that. So normally, I'm going to call my fiscal year, which is starting at April 2022. I'm going to call this year fiscal year 22 23, and in many so this is how I'm going to call it. Okay, so in many countries, or more often, it is known as the year number of the fiscal year is known as the last ending year. So you call it fiscal year 2023. So I'm not going to that into that debate, but let's see how it. So what we do is we can use the Qlik function called add month, and let's just put it outside in here, and then I'm going to add 3 months, so that it goes to the take me to the fourth month, and I'm going to call it as fiscal date. Okay, and now I'm just going to copy this script. So in fiscal year, fiscal periods, it doesn't make sense to have month's name because it's period 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see I have done that in here. So that is going to do it. So let's just click on in here, reload it. And if we see in here, now if I go to the front end side, so I'm going to go for fiscal week. Okay, so let's just delete the weeks first, sorry, and just keep year and month, and let's see what happens. Fiscal, here we go. It has created 2019, and let me create fiscal period as well. Okay, so yeah, here we are. And if I just select it, okay, so November is, oh, sorry, we have done a mistake here. So by adding 3 months, I'm just fast forwarding it. So in order to do that, I'm then going to do is I have to actually subtract -3 so that the year gets backward rather than the forward. Okay, here we go. So November is 8. Let's just start with this calendar year 2020. So this is fiscal period 2018-19. Oh, sorry. Again, let's just add 9 in here and see what happens. Yeah, now it's good. Okay, so January is fiscal year 2019. So this is how you are going to do that. So number of periods that is lacking. So you can these iterations, so subtracting, adding, so you can work with that, and here you can achieve your fiscal calendar. Okay, so now we have seen that how we can customize our fiscal calendar, and it's not just fiscal calendar, you can have any your operation calendar. And in some countries, at some requirement, I have seen people are saying that they have 18 periods, like their cycle of business is like 18 months for some reason. They have bigger projects, or for some other reasons, or 2 years is their cycle of the operations. So you can work this thing alternatively. It will be a little bit complex, but nevertheless you can achieve that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on um, some flags to create some calendars. Okay, so YTD calendar. So this basically, um, this is a measure, um, that an analysis we use is a lot, that why we want year to date analysis, we want month to date analysis, we want quarter to date analysis. So these kind of analysis is very common, and they're very helpful for comparing with the last years and all those things. So or targets year to date, month to date. So how we can do that? In order to do that, there is actually a function called year to date, and let's use temp date as in current YTD. Okay, so this basically gives us just for the current one. It uses. So if I now go in here and I just add it here, and let's, yeah, and let's just select the fiscal year 2022. So you see, okay, so we have -1, so that is another issue that we have to tackle. So every date so far is in today's date. So let's just tackle this problem first. That what we have to do is actually we have to multiply it with -1. It's actually, gives, for some reason it gives minus. So we can just fix that, and let's just add plus 30. So I'm going to create 30 days in here for future. Oh, sorry, here we go. This would help. Okay, still 1,000, but if we go to our calendar, so it has created August as a fifth month of fiscal year, and oops, it should create August, September. Let's see why it hasn't. 2022, okay, good. So our maximum date is now today plus 30, and the max minus this. Oh, sorry. So in order to it to work from today rather than the next one, so we're going to use this variable in here, and I think it's my keyboard. Yes, okay, good. Okay, it seems good. But when we use variable, we have to use single quote in here as well. So let's just use that, and let's also replace it in here and use quote. So whenever in load in as a tab field, we need to use this one. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Now the dates which are in September, I think, and August afterwards of today, it's going in 0. So this is YTD, how we can use that. What if, and in many a time it happens that you want to compare two periods, current year to date and last year to date. Okay, so if we want to do that, our year to date function has this capability of -1, this function. So let's just, if we go to help of this particular function, and let's just, okay, I think you will not be able to see my screen. So I'm going to explain that to you. That first we have the timestamp, and then we have the year offset. Year offset means that how many period future or backward. So let's call it last YTD. So if I go in here, and I'm going to add this one. This is, they are not in last YTD, but let's just select these 3 months, and I'm going to deselect the period. So okay, you see, if it is in 2022, it's in current year to date, and as soon as I go to the last one, so it's July, as in last YTD, August, some part isn't, and then we have, okay, just let's select for just 2 years. I think we are getting third year as well. So okay, you see, here it is, how it's worked. Okay, so there is another capability in that in year to date function is we can have months bypassed as well. So by month bypassing, I mean like we can have like fiscal year when I want to, you know, year to date for the next fiscal year. So for example, my fiscal year starts in April. So I want all the dates starting from April to date as compared to last fiscal year, year to date. So I can have that by adding and other additional parameters. 0 is for the year offset and this is for the month offset. And that can be minus or positive. And I will call it fiscal YTD. Okay. So for good enough, so the next thing we're going to do is we can create MTD flags as well. There is MTD calendar as well, and I think I have the script as well. Oh no, but I will just uh, get away with that then. Okay, so there is a function called month to date. I suppose I believe in. So let's see if we have that month to date. Oh no, we don't have month to date. Okay, so we don't have the month to date calendar, and it is a good thing to have, but at times it doesn't solve our problem because there we have separate field for YTD and we last one and the we have separate field for the current one. So what I normally prefer is rather than using these functions, there is another function called day number of year. So what I call is I day number of year, and so I guess use the if clause if number year is less than today day number of the year, then 1 else 0 as YTD. So now you see this is interesting one. Previously we were using three flags, separate flags for current to date, last to date. So but in this one we have using just one flag, and by year we can just see that if it is was the last year or the current year. But this YTD flag is going to tell us that our date lies in year to date or not. For example, August 21st, 1st August 2022, it lies in YTD, yes. Also, 1st August of 2021 also lies in YTD because it is year to date. So when we are comparing last year with current year, so we can use this YTD flag in our set analysis just as a single one rather than using two one and adding them and having these complexities. And similarly, we can have month flag. So simple, there is a simple function called month function, day function, which is essentially day number of the month. So we can use that flag, and that is again used very frequently to analyze um, month to date with the last month, so that we want to see that okay, if our sales from the last month has increased or decreased. So at times we're saying that okay, it is the last day of the month, or we will see at the last day of the month, so we will increase our sales. But we have to see that if it on 20 on the 20th of the last month where we were and where we are today, so that we have an apple to apple comparison rather than we're comparing July's complete number with August half one and just saying okay, so in July we completed 1 million revenue, in this one we just completed 300, so we are far lagging behind. But it happens to be that the most of the sales happened in the last week of the month, so we don't need to worry about it if we are in comparison. So this is an important function that we can that is going to help you a lot. And by the way, I don't use these functions. These are just I just highlighted them so that you know if there is a use case for that. But uh, these functions are good one and try to use them along with the conjunction of last year variables. I'm going to do it on the front end as well. So stay tuned in this video. This is going to be very important. I'm going to create a second part where I'm going to talk about creating a calendar or YTD flags on the fly on front end, how to use them and set analysis. Okay, so this is good. And now I'm going to move to the next part of my video. So I'm going to stop this video. This has become a very long video. So I'm going to move to the next part where I'm going to talk about um, the calendar things, why especially YTD flags. So it's good that today was 20th of August. I'm good that I want to see that what happens in today versus last year. But what have many times someone who is going to ask that, okay, we don't have the complete numbers or whatever, whatever reason. You want to see that in the history that, okay, today is 20th, but I want to see where I was on 7th of July in the current year and at the same time where I was in the last year. So how I can do that? We're going to talk about it in the next video where I mean, so this is basically dynamic dates. Changing dates are changing dynamically. I am changing my point of reference normally for if I do that, I have just one option. I can just do that in script today or any date. But if I want the end user to give this flexibility to change the date dynamically, so how I can do that? How can I achieve that to have these flags dynamically calculated? Stay tuned for the next video. I'm going to talk about it, and that's going to be uploaded just with this video, and I'm going to post a link as well.